apologises for some things that went wrong in the lead-up to the Iraq War. Is this his pre-battle ahead of Chilcot, I wonder? We'll be looking into that. But first, I want to talk about free speech and whether we value it anymore, especially in universities. Cardiff University, or people there, want to ban Germaine Greer because she's transphobic. Lots of people now appear to be banned at universities. What the hell is going on? Surely the point is to listen to people's opinions and then challenge them. Give me a call, 0345 60 60 973. Yes, it's one of these things that you hear increasingly much about, I think. There's British universities have introduced a total of 135 bans in the past 3 years. And this new row comes because an online petition has been launched seeking to prevent Germaine Greer from giving a lecture at Cardiff University because her views are problematic for transgender people. Started by the women's officer of the student union, it alleges that Greer has demonstrated misogynistic views towards trans women, including continually misgendering trans women and denying the existence of transphobia altogether. Greer is supposed to be speaking on the 18th of November and giving a lecture called Women and Power, the Lessons of the 20th Century. I can't really find an awful lot of evidence for what Germaine Greer said. She said this: I just don't believe that surgery turns a man into a woman, a perfectly permissible view. I mean, an unman is not necessarily a woman. Now, you may or may not agree with that, and I don't really happen to agree with it myself. The question is, should she be given a platform? And it's not just Germaine Greer we're talking about, really. Theresa May this week has launched, as part of her anti-extremism approach, to try and stop non-violent extremism being articulated anywhere. And I kind of start from the position, which is the American position with the First Amendment, that you should allow everything and then really restrict back only on rare occasions when human life is endangered, where incitement can happen. Otherwise, what's wrong with having someone stand up at a university and advocate Holocaust denial, or advocate the fact that they don't believe Britain is a very nice country, or advocate a view that they don't regard transgender issues as important, or even believe people have a genuine medical problem when they are transgender? It may be rubbish. It probably will be rubbish. A lot of the extremist side of debates tend to be filled with rubbish people saying rubbish things. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't be allowed to speak, does it? What would you think? What would stop you giving someone a platform? How much free speech is too much for you? 0345 60 60 973. Richard Dawkins, the cantankerous atheist, has tweeted saying, a university is not a safe space. If you need a safe space, leave, go home, hug your teddy and suck your thumb until you are ready for university. Should we not be confronting all people with the fullest range of opinions and letting them make up their own mind? Or are there some things, and maybe it's in the realm of extremism, maybe it's people coming up and saying they believe in an Islamic state rather than the British Constitution. Should we allow them to talk like that, or should we refuse them a platform? 0345 60 60 973. Well, to debate this, I'm joined by Milo Yiannopoulos, journalist and broadcaster, and person who is regularly banned, it would seem, from university campuses, I think including 4 of them, and Rupert Sutton from Student Rights, an organisation that campaigns against extremism on campuses. Milo, start with you. What do you make of the Germaine Greer situation? She doesn't appear to have even said anything that extreme. Why is there such a willingness, do you think, to forbid her the right to have a platform?
It's an absolutely remarkable thing to watch student feminists turn on a woman who has done more for women's rights than any of them ever will. And it's a remarkable sort of obsession that student feminists currently have with trans and trans issues, and really it's just an excuse for a couple of officious, sanctimonious bullies to throw their weight around. It's got nothing to do with trans rights. It's got nothing to do with feminism. It's just a couple of authoritarian losers who want to ban people whose opinions they don't like the sound.
And why you were banned? You were banned from Manchester Uni. Why? What did you say?
Well, see, the transgender thing is interesting. You've got a lot of second-wave feminists, whether it's Germaine Greer or Camille Paglia, and you get a lot of gay commentators like me questioning exactly what we're talking about with the trans issue. It's quite obvious to most people. It's plainly common sense that somebody who has a psychiatric condition and starts asking the state to hack away at their body doesn't become a woman. They don't become a functioning woman. They don't have ovaries. They look a bit more like a woman. They behave a bit more like a woman. Those of us who've had the temerity to say so, which is something you can't really say in the media or the press anymore, have a black mark against us that feminists and students can use use to ban us from the premises when we may potentially say something they don't like. It hasn't really got anything to do with our opinions on transgender issues. It's just that it's used as a sort of pretext to keep us away from universities and to stop any kind of opinion that the Students' Union or the Feminist Society might not like to hear.
Are there any opinions, do you think, that do require this level of intervention? Would you be comfortable with someone standing up and advocating the overthrow of British society in a university?
No, there's nothing that warrants banning. I'm something like you. I'm a sort of free speech absolutist. I want more Holocaust deniers in universities. I want more people who deny basic human rights. I want more people who, with crazy opinions, because the best response to bad ideas isn't censorship, it's a spotlight. And when you put somebody on stage with these crazy ideas, and if somebody thinks my ideas on the transgender problem are crazy, fine, let me explain my view, and if I embarrass myself, so be it. The best way to deal with these things is to give them a platform, not to try and take it away. Every time that I have been banned from a British university on spurious pretexts, my name and my ideas have been spread on that campus far more widely than they ever would have if I'd just gone to do the debate.
Rupert Sutton, is there anything that you feel is too much in terms of free speech? You're from student rights that campaigns against extremism. Do you not believe that the antibiotic quality of debate is the best way of dealing with very problematic ideas?
Well, yes, and I think often what we say actually is the best way for these people to have their views challenged is to ensure that should they appear on a campus, that people stand up in the audience or there's somebody else on a platform who's willing to oppose them. And unfortunately, what we've seen during our research over the last few years is that simply doesn't happen enough. In cases where we see speakers with religious or politically extreme views appear, they're often given a platform without challenge. The environment is one in which students don't feel they're able to stand up and challenge those views. And so what we're trying to do is get universities to recognise that when these speakers are invited, that ultimately they should be speaking to the students that do so and say, look, if you're going to invite this person onto campus, you should make sure that the event is a debate rather than just want somewhere where they can rail from an unchallenged platform, and make sure that people can stand up in the audience and take them to account for what they said in the past.
Milo, that's a fair point, isn't it? That we are talking about a debate, but would you be happy if someone stood up, and take extremism as a really good example, a sort of crazy figure who stands up and starts advocating the overthrow of the British state in a room full of people who may be, I suppose, temperamentally inclined to follow them, without the opportunity of anyone saying you're talking a load of nonsense? In that circumstance, would you advocate banning that person from that specific event?
No, and I think it does a huge disservice to bright, smart young people of this country when you suggest that they aren't able to tell a bigger on site. Nick Griffin's. I mean, we're talking about seriously crazy people in this instance, right? We're talking about Islamic extremists. I would say radical feminists fall into the bucket of dangerous people with ridiculous views that hurt others. But whether it's Nick Griffin or some hook-handed Islamic nutter, you're telling me that students can't tell when somebody is there for 45 minutes on some kind of crazy, fact-free, bigoted rant that they can't tell the difference? No. I mean, of course, sure, it's best to have a debate format, but we're getting into minutiae now. The point is, should these people be banned from campus? No. They should be put on as many campuses as possible to expose their terrible ideas.
Rupert, what do you think about that? That if you put someone, an extremist, it could be any idea that's perceived to be dangerous, they have a right, don't they, to talk to an audience who may want to hear them, whatever the consequences?
Well, they have a right to freedom of speech. They don't necessarily have a right to an open platform. I think that...
I think that's an interesting question, Rupert, because are the two not indivisible?
I don't think so, no. I think that if you were willing to go and stand at Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park and shout from a box, your right to freedom of speech isn't being challenged, whereas people don't have to invite you onto a campus to spread your views. And what we're trying to...
You're mistaking who's... You're not understanding whose rights are actually being infringed. It's not really about the speakers. It's about the students' right to invite who they want on campus. I'm not inviting myself to these university campuses. Student unions and students' groups, journalism societies, free speech societies are inviting me and having their decision overturned by the student union or overturned by the university. It's not about my right to speak on
Rupert,
right to hear who they want.
Rupert, answer that point.
Yeah, and I think that, as I said, if students want to invite those speakers, they should make sure that they invite them as part of a debate. They should make sure they invite them to environments on campus where those people can be challenged by students and can be challenged by other speakers. And as we've said, the problem that we found during our research is that simply doesn't happen enough. And that currently we're glad to see that the government is trying to get universities to put in place policies which will ensure that happens. They're trying to, there are other organisations out there such as Universities UK which have put out guidance saying that these are examples when extremists could be invited onto campus. These are the best ways to ensure that those views do face challenge. And I think that is the best way really to go about this case. It's not simply to say that all universities are cracking down on freedom of speech, or that every university or every student union are censorious bigots. It's important to say that actually they're recognising that challenging extremism on campuses is actually quite a complex issue, and it's not as simple as just banning speakers or allowing them to speak unchallenged.